Hello, everybody. Welcome to the JD Theory Podcast, Episode 4. This is the second week we're covering NWA Powerrr, 10/7/25 episode. Recording this the next morning. It's the 8th right now. This video will probably come up on the 9th. And we're coming off great episode last week. We're still in the lead up to NWA 77. And I am recording this with my morning cup of coffee. Let's get right into it. First match we had on the card was Kelsey Heather versus Natalia Markova. And this was, I believe, Kelsey's first appearance on Powerrr. Didn't recognize her. And this was a pretty good match. There was a unique spot where they both go for a split to dodge, and they end up brawling in a split position. Kelsey hits a DDT from the apron onto the steel chairs on the outside to Markova. I gotta start pronouncing that more. Markova. And then there's another great spot. Markova gets a power up from the audience. You know, classic stuff. She hits Kelsey with a huge knee, and I was expecting it to be a 3 count. And somehow Kelsey kicks out, and she kicks out again after a huge missile dropkick spot. This is when I was on the edge of my seat, because I'm like, oh, wow, this is a pretty damn physical match. And I know Natalia Markova has a title match against Kenzie Page at NWA 77. So, you know, Markova, she would ultimately win the match, hitting Kelsey with a double-arm DDT. In my notes, I quite literally wrote, surprised to see her in such a physical match. She'll presumably be facing Kenzie Page, which we know is happening. Now, I wrote, what did this match accomplish? We're giving Markova some good momentum going into 77. She's coming off a bit of a win streak. And do I think she'll beat Kenzie Page? We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that later in the episode because we do have Kenzie Page in a match as well later on the card. Now, after that, we do get into some recaps and some promos. We have Joe Kazana and the Country Gentlemen. You know, they beat up Tommy Henry and Hunter 2 weeks ago. And, oh, man. This is one of the reasons I wanted to cover Powerrr now. Because Kazana gets a book shot. You know, the book. It's all in the book. He hits Tommy in the head with a book. I started laughing hysterically at this spot, dude. And then, you know, Tommy Henry, he calls out Natalia Markova, which I believe he's Kenzie's father. He is Kenzie's father. Is that true? I'm not sure, but I believe so. And, you know, he calls her a loser for challenging Kenzie Page. Hunter then addresses the Country Gentleman. Joe Kazana is called Colonel Sanders. Then Eric Smalls, we have him getting a short promo. And this line encapsulates it all. You mess with the Smalls, you get hit in the balls. Love it. Now, what did these promos accomplish? Well, we're setting up Tommy Henry and Hunter to face the Country Gentlemen later in the night, which would end up being the main event. And we also have this build-up for Eric Smalls and Knox and Murdoch, which has been a hilarious mini saga, pun fully intended, as always. Now, we do get back to this benefactor segment. They're taking their sweet time with this one. I will say, out of the 2 main backstage segments that we've been getting, this is the better of the 2. We learn Aaron Stevens, Natalia Markova, Tyler Franks, Tommy Henry, Kenzie Page, and Hunter all qualify to be a benefactor to this estate. Brian Idol being the lone person who is not getting that millionaire's money. That's rough. So it kind of ends off there. We don't go back to this later in the episode. I wonder what this is building to. Is Brian Idol going to have beef with some of the people who won the money? Is there going to be some... I don't know. Is he going to assemble a faction to face this group of people? We know Aaron Stevens, and we'll get to that later in the night, has some faction assembling to do, but interesting what this means for Brian Idol. And then, the second full match on the card, we get JAC versus Colby Carino. Now, this is Colby's first match since failing to capture the NWA World Championship from Tom Latimer. Great three-way match between him, Tom, and Rhino. That was in the towards the end of the Crockett Cup. And here's my notes. JAC is an absolute unit. Starts with him throwing Colby around like a pillow. Great spot where Colby goes for a gymnastic flip to an off-the-ropes cutter, and he just gets tossed and squashed by JAC. Now, the commentary is also pointing out the weight difference and Colby's ambition to fight in the heavyweight division, despite already being an accomplished junior heavyweight champion. Which, if you ask me, he's doing a pretty good job if he's facing Tom Latimer. Even if he didn't win, certainly making headway in the division. And, Colby, with his quick wits, he ends up turning the tides of the match, hits a wonderfully set up backstabber with JAC's legs caught in the ropes. Colby actually carries JAC across the ring for a sit-up powerbomb, and he carries him again in an electric chair position on his shoulders to deliver an L driver, which finally would put the huge guy down. It's a classic David versus Goliath situation. Colby looked great in this match. Now, what did this match accomplish? I don't know yet. Colby is picking back up steam. I wonder what he's going to be doing at 77. Do we lead into a solo program with Tom Latimer? 77 isn't exactly going to be next week, because I know we got to finish this build-up. I know Tom Latimer has a defense that we'll get into later tonight. But yeah, I don't know what this has accomplished so far, besides reintroducing Colby into the ecosystem. So then we lead to a promo battle. After the match, Aaron Stevens comes out with Carson Drake. He hops on the mic, and apparently, off camera, they decided to align. And to me, this feels like a big missed opportunity for a strong segment between Carson Drake and Aaron Stevens. Because the last time we saw them was Carson Drake declining his invitation to be a part of his... To have him be his manager. Now, I think it's a missed opportunity to show some vulnerability in Carson Drake's character to accept the deal. I would have liked to see that. Some evolution on camera. And, he calls Colby a wannabe for seemingly no reason. Then the sinister minister, Father James Mitchell, he comes out to shit talk Aaron Stevens. Loving it. Mitchell claims there's only room for one unrepenting sinner, and it's him. And in response to this, Aaron Stevens starts rapping at him. It's just, this whole segment was so ridiculous. I'm just sitting here laughing, dude. Powerrr is so funny. And if you're into goofy wrestling that still has, like, a lot of quality, dude, you need to be watching Powerrr right now. Now, what ends up happening is Stevens and Mitchell, they will organize teams to face each other for this unspoken best manager in the company title. And what did this promo accomplish? It's, as we just stated, setting up something. Now, Aaron Stevens, obviously Carson Drake is probably going to be a part of this faction of sorts developing. We already know the Sinister Minister has all his wild, wicked, creature-like characters. So it'll be fun. It'll be fun. Then we get Knox and Murdoch backstage. It's another segment of them mocking Eric Smalls, because next week, one of them will face Smalls in a handcuffed heat match. And this needs to be noted, these two never fail to make me laugh. Knox and Murdoch, always a highlight of the show, even when they're not in ring. So yeah, we're setting up for that. And then we cut to another one of these video game store segments. Now, if you watched last week's episode, I do not enjoy these segments. Here's my notes. I said, why is the guy in the store so nosy? And I said, these skits will remain awkward. Because it's something about the way they're written. It just feels weird, you know? And I said, why is La Princesa, Tiffany Nieves, in a video game store to begin with? She would never be in a video game store. What is going on here? Is there some romance angle going on? I don't know. The language is never clear enough. I can imply anything. But it's hard to gauge what's even happening and where it's going or what it means. So then we have El Dragon Nihan calls out Tom Latimer. This guy's insane. This guy's bonkers. And apparently we're going to have them face on next week's episode of Powerrr. This is probably going to be Tom's last defense till 77. And what did this promo accomplish? We get El Dragon introduced to Powerrr. This is the first time we're seeing him, I believe. And he's gunning right for the title, man. Good on ya. Do I think you're going to win? Probably not. But that's okay. Because I think Thrill Billy versus Tom is what we want to see at 77. And if El Dragon's good in the ring, I'm happy with it. Then we get to our third match. We have Carissa Rivera versus Kenzie Page. Now, this match, the NWA Women's World Championship, is on the line, and we have Natalia Markova on guest commentary as the number one contender. She's going to go on to face whoever wins this match. Now, thing of note, both of these superstars are second-generation wrestlers. And I wrote, Carissa looked good in ring, big knees to the face. Markova on commentary calling Kenzie a Nepo baby was funny. And Rivera almost puts down Kenzie with an electric bomb. Great bomb move. And I wrote, Kenzie, she moves like a serpent in the ring, lands the Kenzen cutter for the 3 count, and then we get a stare down at the end of the match between Page, and Markova, who will meet at NWA 77. I must say, this has been one of the best built matches for 77. And the fact that they both have a match in the lead up, it's just, everything's come together really nicely on this one. So yeah, I'm excited to see what happens. I think Markova actually has a chance of dethroning Kenzie Page. I know Kenzie has a lot of allies, so maybe that will tie into something happening. Maybe there'll be some shenanigans, but I'm excited. I think it's going to be a great match. And then, of course, we have our main event. We get to the Country Gentleman versus Tommy Henry and Hunter. And geez, this match really goes off the rails at the end. I wrote, Hunter is electric, and Tommy Henry is just throwing chops to the gut to kick off the match. These guys are so odd in ring together, but cool tag team, right? And there's a funny spot with White Lightning AJ. He's arguing with the ref while having a sneaky submission with his legs going on. I thought that was creative. And I write, Casey and AJ are some big dudes. Country Gentlemen are big. I'm surprised they got done dirt in the Crockett Cup like they did. And even Joe Kazana gets some cheap chokes in from the sidelines. Hunter lands a huge springboard double drop kick, proceeds to go berserk in the ring. If I have to give a single wrestler in this whole card performance of the night, absolutely Hunter. Dude was going nuts. And the fight, it after all this is going on, it ends up going backstage. We see them run back up the runway. They're battling in the back. You see chair shots start flying from both sides. You see, I think it was a pizza box. Somebody gets hit in the head, and they're selling for a pizza box. And I think it's Kylie Page who ends up jumping in. She attacks the Country Gentleman. And Joe Kazana hits her with a book. This got the man, I can't even speak right now. This got the largest laugh out of me all night, right at the end of the show. Joe Kazana hits her with the book. I can't, man. Every time the book is in play, I'm laughing. I love the Country Gentleman. Joe Kazana especially, man. He sells it all for me. And, the fight after the Country Gentleman, they end up TKOing Tommy and Hunter with sleeper holds, and we kind of just phase out after that. Now, we're really building the Country Gentleman up again. We've been doing this since last week. Momentum back on their side after a disappointing Crockett Cup. Tommy and Henry, I don't really know what we're going to do with them. Carissa Rivera was pretty much just fed to Kenzie Page. El Dragon Nihan, I think he's going to get fed to Tom Latimer. I'm just going over everybody we saw in this episode. Knox and Murdoch, I don't know where this Eric Smalls thing is going. I think Eric Smalls might get the Immortals involved. That's my call. And I think we see the Immortals, the Crockett Cup winners, take on Knox and Murdoch for the tag team belts. Because, I mean, they deserve it, right? They won the Crockett Cup. Technically beat them in the Crockett Cup. Even if it was, there was stuff going on. And yeah, Aaron Stevens, Father James Mitchell. I wonder who's going to end up in all of that. Yeah, Colby, we need something going with him. We got to build up to something with Colby. What else? And, Natalia Markova's been doing great. Maybe overall match of the night, I'd give Kelsey Heather and Natalia Markova. Either that or the Country Gentleman's match. Very exciting. Pretty good matches overall on the card. I don't know if this was as great as last week, but it was really good. I think the narratives were a bit more put together, and we didn't really throw in anything unnecessary or confusing to the plot. So yeah, overall, NWA Powerrr, good episode. Let me just check wrestling news in general right now, see if we got anything going on. Xavier Wood re-signs his WWE contract. Let's see what else is going on. Oh shit. If you didn't watch NXT or TNA, don't listen to me right now or turn off the episode, but goddamn, the Hardy Boys win NXT tag titles. Love that. Man, I gotta go and watch that, because I was watching Powerrr last night, so I didn't catch NXT. Ooh, that's probably a great match. Love it. Love to see it. Shout out the Hardy Boys. I wonder what WWE is going to do with Omos. I know they used him in the AAA events, but will we see him again on the main roster? Interesting stuff. What else is going on? Any news? All right. That looks like about it. Yeah, I guess we'll wrap up this episode. Thank you for tuning in today. Probably the 9th this is coming out. The Crown Jewel predictions should be coming out on the 8th. Then this. Then I have some variety content coming out towards the end of the week. Working on another bracket. Last time I did a general WWE superstar bracket, but this next one is going to be targeted at a certain period of time. I'll just say it. I'm going to do an Attitude Era exclusive bracket. And the only thing that's going to be factored into this bracket is how much I enjoyed their work in the Attitude Era. That's it. And I didn't grow up in the Attitude Era. I'm a little too young for that. But WWE loves giving us retrospective content. I had the WWE Network. I was watching all the old pay-per-views pretty much my entire youth while watching what's going on live. And yeah, I've done my research on the Attitude Era. The only thing I haven't done is sit down and watch it all in chronological order, front to back, which maybe that could be a whole series in itself I do on this channel, going through and reviewing the entire Attitude Era. That could be fun. It's one hell of a project, but not impossible. If that's something that sounds interesting to you guys, who's ever watching this, let me know in the comment section. And another thing of note, just another thing to plug in at the end here, I've been putting the podcast episodes on Spotify, the Raw and the Powerrr reviews. So if that's easier for you, you could find them there. Just type in the JD Theory podcast. It'll all pop up. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.